Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. Sorry I was a little bit late. I was just reading a bedtime story about villains and evil people. Basically it was about the Glazers running Manchester United. Anyway, look, let's get on with the show. Lots to get into. Manchester United's number one target. I don't think I need to add to the suspense. I'll go through the details of what we've got. Declan Rice. Also, interesting comments from Declan Rice about his price tag being crazy this summer. And also updates on Ten Hag coming from basically tier 1 source in Holland, Netherlands, close to Ajax, developments around that. And I think, just as I've gone on air, I think they're bloody unreliable. It's bloody Wi-Fi, for God's sake. It should still work. Oh, I forgot to put the cable in, so I'm going to piss about literally 2 minutes into the start of the stream. Bloody knobhead. Bloody knobhead. Does me bloody head in. You know what? I was playing FIFA, right? So I've plugged my Ethernet cable in because it's a better connection. But I'm still really close to the router. Like, the Wi-Fi is absolutely fine. I forget to put the cable back into the laptop to go live on here. Oh, I can't cope. I can't cope. There's no cable. I've got no cable. I must drop out. I must drop out. I've only got Wi-Fi. I'm literally 7 meters away from the router with 30 megabyte upload. But I can't cope. I'm going to act like a carrier pigeon. I can't do it. I can't go live. Bloody hell. It does me head in. Right at the start of the stream as well. Swivel on it. Swivel on it. Anyway. It's Friday night, so I don't really care. You know, if this was like Monday morning or a watch along or a reaction to a signing, I'd be really, really annoyed. But it's Friday night, and Friday night's always a chilled show. So Q&A and all that lot. But look, let's get on with the show. And effectively, we are going to be talking about Declan Rice. We're going to be talking about an update on Ten Hag, and we're going to be taking your questions as well. As I said, I don't know whether you caught that at the start. Number one target for Manchester United is Declan Rice. We've got some developments around that. And we've also got updates around Ten Hag from the Netherlands, from a very good source close to Ajax. And I believe, as I said, I'm pretty sure Romano might have said something as well. So we'll see about that as well. But first of all, I just want to say Spitch is sponsoring the show today. If you're not aware what Spitch is, check out the link in the description. Fantastic new partnership we've got working with Spitch. Really excited about it. I'm playing it. You can play against me. What is Spitch all about? Well, let me just run through it with you now. Spitch is a fantasy football manager app that lets you build your own team to win points and take on other managers in the game. So you can actually take me on. You can play for free, you compete against your friends or against people online for the chance to win a share of up to £70,000 on a weekly basis. Like I say, you can play with your friends, but you can play against me as well. It's available on iOS, Android, and is free to download in the UK, Spitch. It's based around weekly competition, so you don't have to worry that the season already started. This week I'm playing around the Premier League, because my knowledge of the Premier League is, of course, it's super high, because that's my job to know about it. However, that's sarcasm, by the way. However, it's not your job to watch hours and hours of football, then Spitch has you covered with its detailed in-app analytics. If you want to download Spitch and get yourself in with a shot of winning some awesome prizes by flexing your football knowledge, then hit the link in the description and get playing today. And to give you a helping hand, we've posted the United Stand Spitch team, that was a mouthful, on our Twitter and Insta, so head over there for some inspiration. And if you think you're better than me, prove it by joining the United Stand Spitch community. Shout out to Ben Collins, who scored the most points last week in the United Stand community, beating me by just 30 points, Ben, you bloody show off. And if you want to join the United Stand community on Spitch, then I've also included the link in there. There's some great little chats going on in there. You do have to be over 18 to play Spitch, and terms and conditions apply. But the link's in the video description. You can play against me. You can build your team. It doesn't matter that the season's already started because it's done on a week by week basis, and there's up to £70,000 to win as well. So link in the video description, download it, and also get onto the Spitch community. Big shout out, as I say, to Ben Collins, who beat me last week. But I'm going to beat you, Ben, this week. I think it's a fluke. So let's see what that's all about. Link in the chat. Give it a go. Son of a Spitch, says John Bryan. I like it. Ben Collins is a son of a Spitch because he beat me. It's my birthday. Hopefully United won't ruin my weekend, says Jay Brooks. Thank you very much. Well, look, give Spitch a try. Let's get on with the show now. It's been an eventful start to the show. I would say it's been an eventful start to the show. We are up and running though, and that's what it's all about. It is Friday night. Right, we're going to start off talking about Declan Rice. But first of all, I do... hi, Mark. Do you watch Liga MX? Of course, it's not a top European level, but there is always a variation in champions. Friday night questions, as Marcellino. No, I don't. But thank you very much. Fat Pigeon says, poor router. I tell you what, that router, it's sleeping in the cold tonight. It's going in the shed because I don't need the internet at night. So that router, I tell you what, it's been living it up next to the radiator in the living room for too long, and it's out tonight. It's wound me up for the last time. Anyway, let's get on with the show. So, yes, I want to start off talking about Declan Rice, but I do just want to sort of split it with a bit of a sandwich and say that there was a story that came out earlier on from Mick. I can't even receive his name. At Mike Verway. I think that's how you pronounce it. And he is a very reliable source around Ajax. And he's saying that the chances of Erik ten Hag to Manchester United are rising. Now, I had heard something else, that Fabrizio Romano had said something about it today, about Manchester United and ten Hag as well. I don't know whether that's been verified by anybody. It could be a complete and utter fake, but if anybody has got that, I'm pretty sure I saw it somewhere. I'm just going to check it now. But look, I think we've just got to take a little bit of patience with this. I do think that talks with ten Hag will happen, but I will go along with what I've always said, that I'm not 100% convinced that United will go and do that deal. I still think that they desperately want to get Pochettino. I think that that's their priority. And you know what? If I'm absolutely honest, as much as I'd prefer ten Hag over Pochettino, I just don't feel that he really is Manchester United's pick. I don't think he's the right sort of man for Manchester United in their minds. I just think that, you know, talking about Declan Rice, do you think ten Hag would want to spend £90 million on Declan Rice? I'm not so sure he does. Whereas I think Pochettino probably would do it. So it was a fake. It was a fake about Romano. So there we go. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter because the that doesn't matter because the quotes from the Ajax. To be honest with you, I wouldn't have cared if Romano had tweeted about it tonight, because ultimately we heard last night that United have approached ten Hag for talks. Tonight we've heard from an Ajax outlet source, that it's getting closer. So if Romano had said we're in talks with ten Hag, it's only what we already know anyway. So that wouldn't make it any more exciting than it is. Hi Mark, I've been dealing with suicidal thoughts and depression for almost a year now, but your videos have helped me a bunch, so thank you, says Isaac. Thank you very much, Isaac. Very sad to hear that, but obviously it's reality and some people do, and only by talking about these issues do we deal with them. So I'm obviously very saddened to hear that you've been struggling with those things, but I'm very pleased to see that this sort of a community helps you with that, and please do keep seeking help and talking about those issues, Isaac. Very serious issues, but very mature of you to discuss them. I think that's really important. And I imagine losing it because you didn't plug the wire. Such a chill start, says Kartik. Yeah, sorry about that. It's real. And Ghosty says, thoughts on Kanye West? Right, okay, it's not that sort of a Q&A yet. Maybe later. Right, let's move on to this Declan Rice story at last. So, Declan Rice is Manchester United's #1 transfer target as of tonight. He is 100% Manchester United's #1 transfer target. It's interesting because I've heard it from somebody else tonight. I saw the Muppeteers tweeting about it as well. And this is completely separate information. I've actually been in a group chat with them this evening talking about it. Their information is not the same as my information. I don't know where their information is from, but my information is not the same, in the sense that mine's not from any United sources. It's coming more from the London area. And Manchester United have expressed a very strong interest in Declan Rice, and Declan Rice will be very aware of that interest, is what I would say. No official bid's gone into West Ham. He's certainly not been tapped up or anything like that, but he's very aware of the interest from Manchester United. It doesn't mean he's going to come to Manchester United, but Manchester United want Declan Rice. Now, that might not be breaking news to you, but he's certainly our #1 transfer target. And I would go as far as to say what others have said, that Declan Rice is actually the only transfer that is non-manager specific. And what I mean by that is, I don't think United give a hoot whether Ten Hag wants Rice, whether Pochettino wants Rice, whether Rangnick recommends Rice. This is a signing, and maybe it's a problem. We'll discuss it in a minute. But this is a signing that Manchester United, if Declan Rice said, I want to come to you, and West Ham said you can have him for a reasonable price, but you've got to do it by the end of March because we want to know what money we've got, United would sign it off. Whoever it is signing it off, whether it's Murtaugh, Arnold, all of them or whatever, they would sign it off. He is number one transfer target for Manchester United, and they don't really care what the new manager thinks about it at all. They would do that deal in a heartbeat if they could do it. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, they can't do that deal because West Ham will not negotiate until the summer. I don't think Declan Rice will negotiate until the summer, and therefore United can't do a deal until the summer, by which time a new manager will be in. Got City fans in work today saying they're going to do us 10-0. I said, bit eager, mate. He said, okay, 11-0 then. Honestly, I'd say 1-1, 2-1 to whoever. Says Jay. I'm confident we can get a result on Sunday, but you know what? They are very firm favourites in it. But I think with regards to... I am doing the West Ham Liverpool game tomorrow on That's Football, by the way. Somebody just asked about that. Knox did. But, you know, what do you think about that? I don't think it's necessarily shocking to people. But we are into March now. We are approaching the end of the season. This is the time that people start talking to players. And I would say, you know what? I'll give you an example, a player that United really wanted and they didn't get it. And they've been talking to him since November. Antoine Griezmann. How many years ago was that? Was it 5 years, 6 years ago? We'd been working on that Griezmann deal since the November. It got to June, and he basically said, "I'm not going to come because Atletico Madrid have got a transfer ban." United had worked on that for months and months and months. Publicly, it'd been hinted at, but it only really became obvious in around May, June time. But clubs. Liverpool, when they bought Diaz, they didn't just go halfway through January, oh, he's a good player, let's go and get him. They'll have been in negotiations with that. So clubs are talking to people now. Haaland will be having conversations about where he's going. There will be Pogba will be having conversations about where he's going. They won't be public, and they won't have made their mind up. But the flirting stage is definitely upon us. Obviously, the summer's when they get down to business. If you know what I mean, but they're definitely flirting at the moment, and people are expressing their interests in players. And United will be doing that with a few people. I probably believe that we're doing it with Akanji and maybe a couple of other players as well. God, we sound like right. I'm not saying the word, but in relation to Declan Rice, Manchester United have made it very clear to Declan Rice as camp that they want him, whether that's indirectly or not, and that's not tapping up. People say that's tapping up. It's not tapping up. Rangnick could come out in a press conference tomorrow night and say, of course we'd love Declan Rice at the club, but it's not an easy deal to do. So, what do I think about it? Well, what do you think about it? It's not just what I think. What do I think about it? I think Declan Rice is a good player. Interestingly, Declan Rice's comments in the last couple of days, it's crazy. The value that's been put on my head. I try not to think about it, but look, in relation to my future, I want to win big trophies and be remembered as a decent player. I think from Declan Rice's side, he wants to play at the highest level he can. I think he said in the same interview, I've got friends who are winning trophies, and he'll be talking about people like Mason Mount. He won't be talking about Luke Shaw. He's not won any trophies, but he'll be talking about people at City. He'll be talking about people at Chelsea. He wants that. He plays with them for England, and effectively, as much as he loves West Ham, he wants to play at a higher level. So he will want to move. I think he'll want to go this summer. I think West Ham will want the deal to happen this summer because his value is going to depreciate because he's coming towards the end of his contract. So I think it will happen this summer, and I don't think it will happen for anywhere near as much as £100 million. I think he'll go for about £80 million. Now, Tommy says he's not worth £80 million. We can get way better value elsewhere, and I think that's my first point really. What's my reaction when people say to me that United have made it very clear that they want Declan Rice and it doesn't matter who the manager is, they want him? My first reaction to that is, and it's nothing against Declan, is that just shows you the irresponsibility of Manchester United and how the likes of our director of football and our board haven't learnt. How they can sit there and say, we want you no matter who the manager is. We don't have to wait to get you. We want you. We want to get this deal done. Do you want to do it? If United are actually doing that, then they're complete and utter prats, because that is completely not what we need to do as a football club. Like, we cannot go and buy a player for that price, and then a new manager walks in the door and they go, we've bought you Declan Rice, but you've only got £30 million left to spend. Oh, great. I wouldn't have bought Declan Rice. If you told me my transfer fee for the summer was 150 million quid, I would not have spent 80 of it on Declan Rice. I could have found somebody for half the price who might not be quite as good, but would allow me to invest in other areas. So that would annoy me, first of all, is that United have basically said, you're our priority, it doesn't matter who the manager is, we want to get the deal done. Because that's basically the mistakes of the past. That's the board playing Football Manager with the director of football. And I don't rate them. I don't think they have the knowledge, experience or skill set to do it. And I certainly don't think Rangnick would be advising them to go and get Declan Rice for £80 million. I just don't think that's how Rangnick works. I think Rangnick would like Declan Rice, but I think he would also say, look, not at that price, because I can get you 2 players for that, 2 for 1, and they'll be as good. I just need to go and, have a look at my little black book on everything that I've got around Europe. So I don't think Rangnick would be recommending that they do that deal. So that would be the first thing that would annoy me about it, is that I just think it's ridiculous. If you're the new manager of Man United and you're hearing that United are telling players that they want to buy them no matter what the new manager wants, you're undermining the new manager, whoever it is, before it's even started. The second thing that makes me a little bit less bothered about that is that if United are saying to Declan Rice they'd like him to come, well, you know what? Everton are probably saying to Donny van der Beek, we want you in the summer. Doesn't mean they're going to get him. So, and, all right, it's not a good thing. As a United fan, it's not a good thing. You want United to say to a player, we want you, and that player to go, yes, please. But I think in relation to Declan Rice, he's probably aware that United want him in the summer, but he's also aware that, Chelsea are interested and Man City are interested, and he will wait to see what those 2 clubs do, because I guarantee you, if Man City want him, then he'll probably go there, and he'd probably be better off going there. In fact, 100% he'd be better off going there. And if Chelsea want him, he's going to Chelsea, because that's the club he wants to go to. So United expressing their interest in Declan Rice, and United's number 1 transfer target being Declan Rice, yeah, I'm 100% certain he is. We might never be able to prove it if we don't get him, but I'm 100% sure he is. Doesn't mean he's going to come. People talk about his friendships with people like Luke Shaw, but his best mate's Mason Mount, and he's at Chelsea. I'm pretty sure he's probably friends with a couple of people at City as well. And also, if you're a footballer at this level and you're thinking about going and playing for clubs where your friends play, well, how long's Luke Shaw going to be at United? Many people would sell Luke Shaw, so we're not a stable club. It could be that he goes to Chelsea with new Chelsea owners wanting to make a statement themselves, says Mojo. Where do I think Declan Rice will end up? I don't really care, because he's not a Manchester United player at the moment, is he? So whoever gets him will get a good player. I feel that Jorginho's probably on his way out of Chelsea, and I think they need a specialist holding midfielder who can do the job with Kante and Kovacic, and I think that Rice fits that bill. So I think he's perfect for Chelsea. I think Tuchel likes him. Obviously, he's a Chelsea lad. I think Chelsea's the perfect place for Declan Rice. He doesn't have to move out of London. I think it's absolutely nailed on perfect for him. But it doesn't always work like that. Will you be watching the new Batman movie, says Oz. Yes, I will. Hi Mark, first super chat from my first salary. Big up to you and the community. The channel has always been there during really tough times of mine. You'll contribute a lot more to us than what meets the eye. Thank you for that, says Sanchit. Well, thank you very much for that from you, Sanchit. And we do have a great community, you're right. Dan Watson says, striker CM if Pogba goes CDM and a centre-back. Spending £80 million on Rice is ridiculous. As good as he is, we will miss a crucial position again if we do, says Dan Watson. Well, yeah, look, I'm very intrigued to see what you have to say during the show. But for me, in relation to Declan Rice, as a player, I've always really liked him. I think he's fantastic. His price is very off-putting. And also, it doesn't sit well with me that United are basically making him a signing that they don't really care what the manager thinks, they would get him. Basically a non-manager dependent signing. If they could do it, they would do it, and they would worry about what the new manager thinks afterwards. That is completely contrary to what United are meant to be doing. And you could be pro the Rice signing, but get where I'm coming from. If we are true, and look, let's be honest, it's not going to happen, but we have to believe it's going to happen. If we are actually going to turn this club around and reset it, then we have to stop doing things like that. Spending £80 million on one player, and also the board decide what that player is going to be. we want you. We don't care what the new manager wants. We believe in you. You're not managing the team. You're not the one who does the press conferences, and you're not the one who's going to get the crap if we lose. And a great point was made by somebody this morning is that these people who make these decisions, have they ever sat down in an open press conference and been questioned by journalists? Have they ever sat down and be, held accountable to fans or after a match? No. They make the powers and they hide under the blanket of power that they have. And you know what? These managers, whether it's David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and now Ralf Rangnick, every week, sometimes 3 times a week, they are there being questioned, being scrutinised about decisions that are actually out of their hands a lot of the time. Because these people make big decisions and then hide away. So, you know what? Let the man who has to answer the questions have the power in relation to the team. On your brand deals, that's up to you. I couldn't give a toss if your Kellogg's want to be your breakfast cereal. I'm not bothered in that. But what I am bothered about is the team. And that board and that director of football do not have the authority. Well, they do have the authority, but they don't have the talent, in my opinion, to say, we don't care whether it's Pochettino or Ten Hag or Rangnick. We're convinced that Declan Rice is the CDM we want, and we would buy him regardless of what those new managers think or before they even come into the door. So, for me, those sort of decisions need to stop happening. Not because Declan Rice isn't a good player, he is. But if I'm a manager and I walk in the door and they go, we've got you Declan Rice, I might go, brilliant, that's amazing. But I'll probably go, okay, we do need a CDM and he's a very, very good one, but that's 80 million gone. How much have I got to spend now? Well, we had a pot of about 100. We can probably give you another 10, so you've got 30 million. Okay, so I'm the new manager of a club that's in turmoil, and you've bought me a CDM, but you've basically spent most of the money on that CDM. Okay, I wouldn't have done that. I'd have got a CDM for 40 million, so I can get a decent striker and another midfielder. Now I can't even get a decent striker. So that's why the manager must be allowed to manage. Joshua Bellwater says, I think the club will know who the manager is going to be before the end of the month, but when do you think the fans will find out, says Joshua. Great question. Let's move on to these. And if the board wants Rice before naming a new manager, then it only proves they lied about why they didn't get a CDM in the winter transfer window, says Stephen. I think they lied about that anyway, Stephen. It never made any sense to me at all. Mark, the board think that the Rice will be the perfect 80 million shield for Harry Maguire, says Andrew. Well, you know what? I want to talk about Joshua Bellwater's thing there, but look, let's move into the Q&A. In relation to Harry Maguire, depending on who you talk to, you know what? I don't rate Harry Maguire. I don't think he's very good. I don't think he's a very good captain, and I don't think he's good enough for where we need to be. But I don't actually believe that there is some upheaval in the dressing room against him. I don't think there's players in that dressing room thinking he's crap and he shouldn't be starting. Maybe some do, maybe a lot do, but I don't actually believe that. But if you listen to some people in the industry at the moment, there are some people saying that United have had enough of Maguire. It's been going on for the last 2 years. They're really disappointed in him. He's not the player they thought they were going to get. And, that's the United stance. Not that they're going to sell him or anything like that. Just that they're massively disappointed with him. And also, as I said, I think he's 29 this month. So it's not like he's, if he's 24, you think maybe there's a bit more development in him. We can sort the problem out. But look, I always default to the fact that at the end of last season, Harry Maguire was playing really, really well. But my issue is he was playing very well at the end of last season for United, and we did miss him in the Europa League final, big time. And he did play fantastically well in the Euros. But there's a big mitigating circumstance there. In the Euros, England played with a back 5 and two holding midfielders, Phillips and Rice, and a back 5. I mean, it's not the same as one holding midfielder and 2 centre-backs on the halfway line, is it? Harry Maguire played well, very, very well, in the Euros in a team that was very, very defensive. Could he play that well for England on a team that's got one holding midfielder, and he's playing on the halfway line with 2 centre-backs and its full-backs pushing forward? No, we couldn't do that. So that's my issue. And also at the end of last season when he was playing with United, again, he was called Harry the Hoover and Victor the Vacuum with 2 full-backs tucking in and 2 CDMs in front of him in a deep line. That's my problem with Maguire. It's a grown-up conversation problem. It's not, oh, Harry Maguire's crap and all this, and when he turns there's a beeping noise like a lorry. That's all banter, really. The truth of the matter is he can't play in the system we want to play, because we want to play like Liverpool. We want to play like Man City. We want to play with a high line and press teams up and create chances for our attackers. You can't do that, and that's always going to be the problem. Joshua, going back to what he said about the manager is going to be in before the end of the month, but will we as fans find out? And it's a great question by Joshua about the manager, and that's why I like doing this Q&A section on the Friday. It is a great question because I don't know how this works. I think back to when Sir Alex Ferguson said he was going to retire at the end of the season, and our form fell through the floor. And then he had to say, I'm not leaving. And then the form went up. When you know a manager's leaving, it can really impact on your team. Look at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, right? When he was the interim, we're all singing Ollie's at the wheel. I mean, there's that clip of me outside Old Trafford. I think it was after the Southampton game. And I'm going, Ollie's at the wheel. And I get lost in the crowd. Like, everybody's singing Ollie's at the wheel. Like, then he gets the contract and the team fell apart. We got smashed up by Everton. I think we lost to Huddersfield at home or something. I can't remember now. When players get information where they can take their foot off the pedal, they tend to take their foot off the pedal. Now, the reason I mention that in relation to what Joshua said is because if Man United do get Ten Hag over the international break and announce it at the start of April that Ten Hag's coming to the club in the summer, Ajax are in quite a close title race and they're in the Champions League. What happens to that Ajax team? Does it collapse? Same with PSG. I mean, they're so far ahead in the league, it's not going to matter. I just don't see how, legally, United can get Ten Hag or Pochettino agreed to be their manager before the end of the season, considering compensation would be involved. And why would Ajax want that to go public? And why would United want to negotiate and pay money in March? So I think it's a great question by Joshua, which I'd like to sort of elongate. How long can we still attract world-class players based solely on history if our current trend of being incompetent continues, says Ian. That's a good question as well. And Maguire, along with other England stars, played well in the Euros because he played in a back three, 2 CDMs, and England played nobody elite, says Danny. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. He did play well, though. He did play well. And there was somebody else there. If the board wants Rice before naming a new manager, then it only proves they lied about what we've done that one, haven't we? And Mark, the board think that Rice, yeah, I've done that one as well. So that's interesting point there about what Ewan said. Can we still attract top class players? Well, I know this is something that's been mentioned by you for years, not just Ewan, but a lot of you have said before. Can we still attract top players? And I've always said, look, players will always want to come to Man United because players are egotistical. You have to be successful. Managers will always want to come to United because they'll believe they can be the manager that can turn it around. However, there will be a gradual deterioration in that statement. There will start to be more and more players that don't want to come here. Erling Haaland didn't want to come here. Jude Bellingham didn't want to come here. So it's already started, Ewan. There are already players that don't want to come here. But that's nothing new. Ronaldinho chose to go to Barcelona over us. We've been snubbed by players in the past. You'll always get snubbed by players for different reasons. But the frequency of it will start to happen more and more for United. And what will happen is that certain players will become unobtainable. Could we go and buy a Paul Pogba now? I don't think we could. I don't think a Paul Pogba now would, that Paul Pogba deal I don't think would happen now. I don't think he would come to us. We've just spoken about Declan Rice. Declan Rice will go to Chelsea or Man City ahead of us. Or he's stupid. So, it's already happening in a certain sense. But you will never get to that point where nobody will come. If you can't get a Declan Rice, you probably will get a Ruben Neves. So the levels of of the type of player that you can get will change. But that point that Joshua makes very interesting. Mojo says, how many players can we all sign this summer, given that 5 to 6 would be leaving? I'd always say that, Mojo, the maximum deals United can do is 7 or 8, and that's pushing it. And that includes people going out the door. And that would include Martial leaving, so that would be 1 deal. That would include, Dean Henderson going on loan. That would be 2 if that happens. So I think overall the maximum we can do is 8 deals. and that includes ins and out, because United are just very slow at doing deals. So yeah, we can't do an infinite amount of deals. I'd like to see us do 12. Probably 5 in and 7 out, but I just don't think we can do that. I just don't think we're capable of doing that. But yeah, I mean, what do you think about the managerial situation? I know United keep talking about getting a player in, but getting a manager in, but I just don't see how it happens. I mean, we all know Pochettino's the favourite. We all know that there will be talks with Ten Hag, and we know that those two are probably the two favourites for the job. But how do you get them to agree to do the job? How do you? I don't think we'd ever know publicly, but how do you even do it privately? You have a chat with Pochettino. He agrees he wants the United job. PSG agree that he can go because they want Zidane. There's a bit of compensation, maybe. Okay, we'll just keep it quiet for now, and at the end of the season you can announce it. All right, that can be done, but I suppose that's the only way it can be done, because if it gets public, PSG probably will beat Real Madrid as well, so they'll still be in the Champions League in April. And as I said, Ajax are going to be in a title race in April, and they may well be in the Champions League themselves. So I don't know. It can be done. Himanshu's right. It can be done, but I don't know who it benefits. And if I was Ajax and Ten Hag said to me, I want to go to United in the summer, then I would say, well, you better not agree anything, because if you're having conversations with them, that's tapping up. You're under contract here. So if you want to go to Man United in the summer, you better not be bloody talking to them about it, because if we find out, we'll sue your ass. If you want to go to them in the summer, that's fine. Get them to speak to us. And then Ajax speak to Manchester United, and Ajax say, look, if you want to speak to him now officially and agree that he's going to be the manager, and you want to talk to him about transfers, you better get that deal done with us now. And I don't want it going public, but you better do that deal with us now, and you better agree to pay us now. Well, money talks. I guarantee if United went to Ajax and said, look, there's 15 million quid, we want Ten Hag in the summer, and we want him to know he's coming in the summer, but we'll keep it quiet, I'm sure Ajax would do that. But do you think United want to pay that sort of money? It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Because if they want to talk to managers, they're going to have to get the permission of these clubs. Otherwise, they run the danger of being in big trouble. Hi, Mark. Can please wish my mate Amira a happy birthday, please? P.S. I love the show, says Narin. Happy birthday to Amaral. Hope you have a great birthday. Thank you very much. United will get permission from Ajax to talk to Eric for sure, says Cooper. Well, I'd be stunned if we don't. Especially because of the relationship with Van der Sar. But I would expect Ajax not want that to be announced publicly. But we might get a Pep Bayern Man City thing where that got announced. I think in March, was it March or April that got announced? So, and Man City's season went through the roof, fell through the floor. Then Pellegrini was in charge, I think, and they very nearly missed out on Champions League football. In fact, it was Van Gaal's Man United that nearly took it, which would have been a joke. So, clubs have to protect their interests, don't they? I think the difference in players opting out of coming to United now is the reason why they won't, is because they think the club is going nowhere, says Stephen. And it's much easier for Ajax to replace Ten Hag. They can get a relative unknown. Who would PSG replace Poch with? Zidane wants the France job, says Joshua Bowater. I don't know. I mean, Tim says Galtier to PSG. PSG will have a manager lined up. It's whether they want Pochettino to go or not. I don't think Pochettino has a great relationship with PSG fans, let alone the board. And I think if I was Zidane, I'd quite like that France job. International football management is, after what he's done at Real Madrid, international football is probably quite appealing. Amit says, Mark, do you think Ruben Diaz being out benefits us? I've seen our fans online happy about it. Also, rest in power, Shane Warne. Yeah, I mean, I was live this afternoon when we heard about Shane Warne, and I'm devastated about it. And you know what? I put a tweet out saying about it, and there was some knobheads in the replies going, you don't even watch cricket. And I'm like, you don't even know me. Shut up. Somebody has died. You'd have to have your head buried in the sand not to know who Shane Warne is. He's one of the best cricketers of our lifetime. And I do watch cricket. I don't watch it week in, week out. I know some of you absolutely love cricket. I'm not a week in, week out watcher, but I'll watch the Six Nations in the rugby. I always watch the Six Nations in the World Cup in the rugby. I don't watch domestic rugby. I don't really watch any other rugby. When it comes to cricket, in the summer, if the Ashes are on, I'll go and watch it. In fact, I don't know whether I had it with me. Here it is. There you go. Swivel on that. That's an England versus Australia Ashes ticket for the 31st of July 2015. Day 3. So I do like cricket, and I do like England-Australia. For me, I could sit and watch every minute of that. I mean, I don't normally watch it when it's at Christmas because it's in the early hours, but, you know, Shane Warne's a legend of the game, and it's just devastating that at 52 he's passed, so rest in peace. In relation to Ruben Diaz, Amit, you know, John Stones is a bit of a dodgy player sometimes, but then sometimes he's amazing. Laporte's a very good centre-back. I'd rather Ruben Diaz was missing than Kevin De Bruyne. I'd rather Ruben Diaz was missing than Rodri. I'd rather Ruben Diaz was missing than Gundogan. I think that Man City being weak at the back is not what worries me. It's how many chances they could create against us. But I feel we can get a result in that game. Will we ever feel emotions as 2008 in the Champions League finals as Irfan? Well, for me, 99, I'm old enough to remember that. You know, I always say this. Somebody said to me the other day, what's the best stream you've ever done on United Stand? And it might not be the best stream, but it's always the one that comes to mind, was the Europa League win against Ajax with Mourinho. And I remember after the game when we were doing the stream and loads of people tuning in, and I said, remember this. And some people didn't want to enjoy it as much as they should have done. And I said, remember this, because you never know when the next trophy's coming along. And I said, don't belittle the fact that it's the Europa League, it's the UEFA Cup, whatever they call it now. We've not won this before. It's a European final. It's the biggest trophy we've won since we won the title, which at that point I think was 5 or 6 years ago. Enjoy it. And I remember saying it on the night that we won in 99. I was on a beach in Malahide, cigar, bottle of whiskey. 4 of us sat next to on the beach at about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I said, I don't want to go to bed. I don't want to go to bed. I don't want this night to end. It's been the greatest night as a Manchester United fan I've ever known, and I don't want to go to bed because tomorrow it won't feel as good as it did now. And it still felt good, but these moments, if we ever get them again, God, cherish them, because you just don't know how long the next one's going to be. If you'd said to me in 2013 we're not going to win a title for the next 10 years, I'd have said, well, what am I going to do? What happens? We're not even going to be in a title race for 10 years. What? You just don't know. Makes sense, we're after Ten Hag. Our last Ajax signing spent a lot of time on the bench too. Swivel on it, Router, says David Salter. Thanks very much for the super chat there. God bless you, Mark. Have a good day. We all going through the same roller coaster ride, says Jazz. I mean, yeah, just going back to that Ten Hag thing, I was so hungover the next day. So hungover. You know what helped me through my hangover, though? I used to work in this office in Dublin near St Stephen's Green. And at about 10:30, they used to roll this person down the aisle for a laugh. No, they used to roll this bloody coffee. It was a proper woman who used to do it. It could have been a man, diversity bridge. But this woman used to come in at about 10:30. I think she used to do every floor because it's about 5 floors. So she'd come up the lift. What was she doing in the lift? Dirty. Anyway, she'd come up the lift, roll her tea trolley into the middle of the office, and people would go and get a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and chuck her a bit of money and biscuits and everything like that. Anyway, she always used to do it pretty much next to my desk. So I'm sat there and I'm like this. I've got my head down pretending to be reading something that I've been reading for the last hour because I was just so hungover. And then I could hear these guys at the tea trolley, and they clearly weren't United fans, and they were just moaning for about 5 minutes. And it really cured my hangover, because all I could hear was, "Oh, it's the biggest disgrace. It's the biggest disgrace. Absolute joke. Absolute disgrace. How Manchester? They didn't deserve that. They did not. No, they didn't deserve it. It was the biggest joke in the world. The biggest joke ever. How have they won that? I'm telling you, absolute disgrace. How did Manchester United win that?" And I just, instantly the hangover lifted to a big happy smile, listening to people in total despair that we'd won it. But yeah. I did have a bit of a hangover that day. But no, I just wanted to go back to Ten Hag. I really wanted to ask this question. Do you think that Ten Hag... do you think Manchester United really want Ten Hag? I was thinking about this just before I went live. Do you really think that Manchester United want Ten Hag? Because I think the reason we want Ten Hag, or some of us want Ten Hag, is because he's so different to... If you like more of my life story, just go and watch Walking the Goldbridge that I put up yesterday. It's on the community tab. Can you call my friend Vape to stop vaping? Says Khalees. Stop vaping. Because I was thinking about this, and the reason some of us United fans want Ten Hag, I think, is because football fans these days are so educated in football. I mean, so many of you just, I'm very happy in my opinion. I don't really feel the need to argue it. It's mine. If it's right, it's right. If it's wrong, it's wrong. But it's my opinion. And I read some people comments below the videos and what's on social media, and some people are just brilliant. They know so much about football, really, really good. And I think football fans in general are so more learned now on football. And I think the reason United fans are excited about Ten Hag is because they're educated in what Ten Hag is. Like, he is one of the most exciting managers in Europe. He's not managing a big club. He clearly needs to be the opportunity to manage a big club. And his whole dynamic as a manager is something new and refreshing, and would be very new and refreshing for Manchester United. Now, does this board strike you as a board that wants new, refreshing and exciting ideas? I don't think they do. What do United do when a CEO leaves? They appoint somebody else from within to be the new CEO. What do United do when they finally get a director of football? They appoint head of development who's been there for 7 years to be the new director of football. We don't like new, exciting ideas. We like established, safe ideas. So I would be very, very impressed if Manchester United appointed Ten Hag, because I genuinely do not think he is what they want. And if they did go for something like that, then that would be a step in the right direction. I don't think it means we're going to win titles, but it would be a step in the direction. Because they never want what we want. The reason, you know what I mean? The reason we want Ten Hag is because we've seen something that this club should be looking to do. Something new, exciting that they haven't done before. That's not what you... And the reason we want that is because this club doesn't do that. So for the fans' ideals to meet with the board's ideals, that's why we're miles apart. So why would we suddenly be together? I'm not convinced they want Ten Hag. I don't. I mean, why would they want a manager that's going to say, get me Anthony, get me this player from France for 35 million in the midfield, get me this striker who's going to cost you 40 million instead of 80 million? I think United would rather go, yeah, Poch, come in, get your old mate Harry Kane and Declan Rice and we'll win the league. That's why I think they want Poch, because they know what he's all about. He's safe. He's desperate for the job. He's managed in the Premier League. I just don't think they want Ten Hag, but I'm happy to be proved wrong. I really don't think the board wants Ten Hag, but they really care what the fans think, so they need to appoint someone, even if it's Harry Potter, says Sunday. Thank you, Super Chat Mark, says Jazz. Love the passion, Mark. Was thinking about it the other day, how every match will be so boring without you and United Stand. It is now a habit for most of us to binge on the United Stand after every match, says Jazz. Oh, you've not heard the news then that we're stopping at the end of the season. I knew it would get out. Gabrielle Noel says, tough question because both are still possible. Who would hurt less to see win? Liverpool quadruple or City treble? Must pick. Well, look, it's Friday night Q&A, Gabrielle. I don't like sitting on the fence on anything. So Liverpool quadruple or City treble, and I must pick. Well, I'd have to go with... It's an easy pick, Gabrielle, because Liverpool, personally to me, Liverpool are our biggest rival. So why would I say Liverpool do a quadruple over a City treble? The better question would have been, would I go Liverpool treble over City quadruple? Because the quadruple beats our treble. So I'd probably... I don't know what I'd go with that. But I'd definitely go City treble over Liverpool quadruple, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yo, that jacket is clean, says Omar. It is clean. I washed it the other week. But... no, I've had it for a while. I'm not stopping the United Stand at the end of the season, Devil 58 Red. But No, I'm not. I'm not even going to entertain the joke. I'm not. I'm not planning to anyway. Very happy with what's going on with it. Very happy with the community that we have. You know, I've always said, well, whilst people are watching and it has its place, we'll keep doing it. TUSFC is going to stop, Himanshu, sadly. That's going to stop before the end of the season. I think if we won the title at some point, I'd consider stopping, because I've always, you know, I'm so fortunate to have witnessed United win title after title after title and trebles and Champions Leagues more than once. So, you know, some fans don't get to see their team win a title. Some people don't get to win their team, see their team win the Champions League, Arsenal. So I can never argue about what I've seen as a Man United fan, but I will argue because we never should have fell off this bad. I can't stand the whole, well, football goes in cycles, and we can't moan about having a bad period when we had such a good period. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. I definitely can. If I've got a really nice Ferrari that I've been driving around for 2 years and it's been great, and then somebody crashes into me because they're a twat driver, I'm not going to get out the car and go, thanks for writing off my Ferrari that I love. I've had 2 really good years in it, and, you know, at the end of the day, I can't moan about it anymore. I should have had another 5 years in it until you smashed into it, you incompetent prat. I don't mind United not winning titles if that Ferrari, you know, slows down because of wear and tear, and then I have to get a new one. But I will moan when that Ferrari gets smashed up by an idiot. I'm not going to sit there and go, oh, well, we had some good times until this dickhead smashed into us. I'm not having this cycle bullshit. The cycle of United should have carried on a lot better. I'm not saying we should have won the title every year. If you'd have asked me, if you'd have got me on camera when Sir Alex Ferguson left, I would have said that we're not going to win the title as much as we used to. In fact, I would have said, I think Moyes is a big mistake. But if you'd said to me, all right, then over the next 9 years, you'll win 2 titles and you'll be in a title race 4 out of the next 9 years, and I said, it's not as good as I want, but I'll take it. That's reasonable. That's a drop-off, but it's not as severe as it could be, which is what we've had now. Can you pay tribute to Shane Warne, who passed? Elliot Wallace, I'm not a parrot. And if you don't want to tune into the show in the afternoon and you don't want to tune into the show from the start tonight, then I can't keep paying a tribute to Shane Warne every 10 minutes on a football channel. I've spoken about it in depth twice now. It's very sad, and I know exactly who he is, and I think he's one of the greatest cricketers of my lifetime. But we have spoken about it, and it is a United fan channel, and it is in no way disrespectful to say, watch the shows this afternoon when it broke, and at the start of this show where we've spoken about it. I can't say any more than that, because there's people who've been watching the show for a long time tonight who've already had that. Yeah, I mean, I would too go out with a bang. I've been following you since 300k, and it's been an amazing journey. Thanks for your time and efforts. Not a title every year, but some silver at least, says Omar. Stephen Waller says, it's sad he was your age. He wasn't my fucking age. You cheeky bat. I'm not 52. I'm not... He's more than 10 years older than me. You spoke about it on Twitch as well, says Himanshu. Yeah. You know, what I would say about it is it's just no age. It's just very, very, very sad, isn't it? But what can we do? What can we do? Do you think Rangnick wants Ten Hag? I don't think so. No. I don't want that to be clipped. I do not think... I don't think Rangnick has had any conversations with the club about who to appoint as manager. Because I completely... And that's not breaking news, although I've had it verified from other people. He said it himself today. Rangnick didn't say publicly, I'm here if needed, but I've not yet had conversations with the club about players and the manager. There's been no conversation about it at all. Rangnick has not spoken to the club about getting Ten Hag. So I don't know what Rangnick wants, but he's not spoken to the club about it. So anybody who wants to get excited about these stories that Rangnick has convinced the club to get Ten Hag, that is not the case, unfortunately. Yet there's plenty of time, but also I think we need to be patient. I think we really do need to be patient. It's silly season, and go back to what I was talking about a few minutes ago. How do you go and get Ten Hag on the 4th of March when he's got a massive Champions League game in 10 days, which if he wins, they'll have another massive Champions League game 3 weeks after that and 4 weeks after that into April, and he's in a big title race. I don't know that Ten Hag would even want to sit down and talk to United in depth at the moment. I think the international break's going to be very interesting. We've not really been in a situation like this with United before, and we should never put ourselves in a position like this again, where we desperately need to get a manager in because we need to sort out a very big summer, but the managers that we want are in very big situations with the teams that they're at the moment. Whoever the next manager may be, if we fail to succeed under him, that would be 100% on the club and players and not the manager, says Kia. Well, I think it always is. And I think Jawa makes an interesting point. What if Rangnick's trying to convince the club to give him a whole season, not convincing to get a new manager? I think that's a great thing, and I think Rangnick was asked a great question in the press conference today, and I don't know why people are talking like this. You know, a lot of your evidence... sorry, I'm Australian, so I miss the show sometimes, says Elliot Wallace. No worries, Elliot. And you know what I will say, Elliot, and I'll repeat what I said this afternoon. It'd be well worth watching the show this afternoon. Shane Warne to Australians is, because I know a few Australians and I've been WhatsApping them today. Shane Warne to Australians is, and let's not forget that the time that this is broken in Australia for a lot of people is like early morning, isn't it? It's devastating. You know, Australia is not a massive country population-wise. Shane Warne is a worldwide famous cricketer. So to Australians, this is just devastating news. Absolutely devastating. I could give you comparisons if you're English or Indian or anything like that, but I wouldn't want to do that because it might upset you just be doing that because those people are alive. But sporting greats of your nation, that's what Australia is going through. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. Mark, just saw on some website, Liverpool have a net spend of 40 million per season. We have 100 million per year over the last 5 years, says Ivan Whelan. We're a badly run football club. You know, at the end of the day. Players and situations. I was going to say, yeah, I don't know why people haven't thought like this. You know, everyone seems to be obsessed with, Ralf, have you spoken to the club about who you think should be the new manager? Ralph's desperately trying to get United to give Ten Hag the job. And we're all missing the most obvious thing in the world. The most obvious thing in the world is this. Manchester United, Ralf Rangnick, have understandably, not understandably, Manchester United have undermined Ralf Rangnick at least 3 times in the last 6 weeks. The big standout was not buying a CDM that he wanted, and obviously the Lingard thing was the second thing. But there's something else, there's quite a few things where they've undermined him. I can't remember what the other one was a couple of weeks ago. Where he's been undermined publicly 3 times in the last 6 weeks. And yet people think Ralf Rangnick's walking into the office of the board and going, "Oi, stop chewing gum, Richard Arnold. Sort your tie out, Murta. This is what we're going to do." It's completely the other way. Rangnick hasn't got the power people think he has at that club at all. So when he speaks in his press conference about not being spoken to about it, that's probably the truth. In fact, it probably really is the truth. And yet people want to believe that Rangnick is in the boardroom saying to Richard Arnold and John Murta, "No, you're completely wrong about Poch. Go and get Ten Hag." I don't think he has that conversation. I don't think he has that power at the moment. And I don't think his consultancy role is even sorted out. He's the interim manager of Manchester United, involved in the training of the team to try and win games. He's not involved in boardroom conversations like people assume he is. And it's not even been nailed down that he will stay at the club after the summer. Now, if Man United actually had a conversation with Ralf Rangnick about the manager's job, I agree with Joa. I think he would say, "Well, just give it to me." I still think Ralf Rangnick would like that job. So, one, I don't think he's got the power people think he's got to even say go and get Ten Hag. And two, if he did have the power people think he's got, I think he'd be saying, what about me for the job? So I think we're taking huge leaps of faith to go, Rangnick's telling the club to go and get Ten Hag. I just don't think that is the situation at the moment. The appointment, says Joe Snow, of Rangnick was a smokescreen for the Glazers, a way to try and appease the fans, but actually have no intention of the consultancy role. I think there's a big danger that he won't even get a consultancy role. I think there's a big danger that what will actually happen in the summer is that United will finish in the Europa League, Rangnick will leave the club completely, and Poch will come in and work under Murtaugh and Arnold, and will be back into almost an Aldi version of Mourinho. I think that, I wouldn't bet on it, but I think that's realistic. I don't know why people think Rangnick's even going to be here beyond this summer. I hope he is. He's the only one that talks any bloody sense for the last few years. Hi Mark, in United conference call there was no mention of Ralf being involved after the season. They mentioned him like a random hire. Seems like they're preparing for a quick breakup. Andrew, I like to follow the evidence. You know, that's the jobs I've done, whether it was banking or other jobs. I like to follow a paper trail. I like to follow the evidence, and I definitely like to focus on what comes from the mouth of the person involved rather than Rangnick says from a paper. And I'm not convinced that he has any power at that club at the moment, and I'm not convinced that he will be here beyond May at the moment, based on the evidence. That might change in 2 days if we get any more quotes, but at the moment, and that would be very sad because I think he speaks with the most sense, but there we go. I think Ed Woodward was absolutely determined not to give up any power. The reason he appointed Richard Arnold as director of football was because it was a minion and a mate of his, and it was somebody that he could control. That's why the director of football role we got. Remember, we used to talk about getting a director of football for years, and then we got one, and it was basically given to somebody within the club. You just moved somebody into the role. United do not want to relinquish power. That board has been adamant that they don't want to relinquish power at that football club. So, can you imagine Ralf Rangnick just being given a role and starting to tell these people what to do? It's all about protecting each other. Mates rates. That board is mates rates. Murtaugh, Arnold, Judge, Fletcher's now one of them. It's all mates rates. It's all protect each other until they prove something else. And I've got no problem with saying it's all mates rates. They never do interviews. They all hide behind each other. Until they start proving to us that they're not like that, then we have to assume that they are like that. And that goes back to what I said before. I don't think Ten Hag is the sort of manager they want at all, because it's what we want. And they never want what we want. So if they do go and get Ten Hag and Rangnick does stay, I'll be very impressed and say, well, it's a little step in the right direction. But I don't believe it's going to happen. I don't. Ralf is used to blow away the smoke of corruption, says Elliot Wallace. And Mark, what's the point of getting a sweeper keeper when you play Maguire? It's downgrade considering you have the best shot stopper in the world, says Lewis. As I've said, look, I don't think De Gea is a problem anyway. I think he's a fantastic goalkeeper. But even if I conceded that he's not a modern sweeper keeper, what are you talking about? We don't even play in a system that we need a sweeper keeper. So, I wouldn't even start talking about De Gea until Maguire's gone. And I don't see Maguire going anywhere anyway. And, we need a CDM before Maguire goes. We probably need a backup striker before Maguire goes. You've got to rank what's important. The top 3 things that are important for me at United are obviously getting the managerial appointment right, Ralf Rangnick being involved in big decisions above that manager, and a CDM. Then we need a striker because Cavani's going to go. I think we need another midfielder because Pogba will go. I think we need a centre back, and that would include selling Harry Maguire. But even Harry Maguire, who is a problem in the club, is not in my top 5 issues. And you need to rank your issues, because all right, if I said to you right now, I'm a genie in a bottle, baby. You've got one wish. There'll be some prat who goes, I want De Gea out and I want a proper sweeper keeper in, and I'll go, what? You're not at the point where you need that at the moment. Mark, I know it's wishful thinking, but what if Ralf pulls out a rabbit out of his hat and he chats up Nagelsmann to be our next manager? Victor, I don't believe Rangnick's involved in these conversations, like I said, but I would love Nagelsmann. Anthony, 40 million. Chouamini, 50 million. Someone like Gavardiel for 30. Schick for 35 to 40. Tillemans for 35. 6 players for around 190 million, says Benjamin. I'd love to see it. You know, it's not going to happen. RL Supremacy says, my dream summer. Ralf exposes the Glazers, Arnold and the lot, and they succumb to the pressure of the fans and sell the club. A guy can dream. Yeah. Well, I wonder what sort of contract Rangnick's under now where he can't say anything when he leaves, because that tends to be the case, really. Nigel Green says, Shane Warne was only a year older than me. Mate, it's no age. That's the thing. Legend of the game, but taken way too soon. Way too soon. So, yeah. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We're back in the morning with the morning show. Of course, United don't play till Sunday, so there will be an 8 o'clock show tomorrow night as well. And I'm doing Liverpool against West Ham watch along tomorrow at 5:30 on the United on That's Football as well. So, thanks, everyone, for watching. Take care. If you want to see Ralf Rangnick's press conference reaction, that's up on the channel as well. Some very interesting quotes to add to this show. But finally, before I go, remember Spitch. Link in the video description. You can play against me. You can start playing today. It doesn't matter about how many weeks we are into the Premier League. Fantasy Premier League or La Liga or whatever league you want to do. It doesn't really matter. Link's in the chat. You must be over 18 to play, but it is free to play. And also check out the community link as well, where you can get involved in chats with each other as well and compete against each other and talk about what you're going to do. I'm going to pop on there myself now. Link's in the chat. Download it and play it. I'm looking forward to taking you on. Well done to Ben Collins for beating me last week with 30 points more than me. He won't be doing it this week. Thanks for watching. Link's in the description. Thanks to Spitch, and I'll speak to you tomorrow.